Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. It's wintertime in Vermont's Northeast Kingdom, and what better to do than take to the ice in search of fish? Today's guest is Ron Wright, who is looking forward to his 9th annual fishing tournament. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott.
So, the 9th annual fishing tournament's coming up. I find that hard to believe because it seems like just a couple years ago you were working on that first one.
You're right.
But have you noticed the older you get, the faster time flies?
Time goes by quick.
Right. Now, there's a lot of fishing tournaments in the area, but yours is the mega fishing tournament. Did you set out to do that?
No, not really. When I set out, Scott, I set out to bring business to the area and let people kind of know what was how many lakes and was around. My daughter and her boyfriend at the time were helping me in the store, and they says one day to me, they said, Grandpa, and we'd love to have a fishing tournament. What do you think? I said, if you're game for it, I'm game for it, and we'll put it together.
Right. And you can't just start a fishing tournament, can you? You have to have permits?
Oh, yes, you have to get your permits, a license from the state, and from there to go on to, to get your permit, and they want to know how many fish are caught and everything, keep records.
So do they set the date, or do you?
No, I set the date.
Right. Now, what's the name of the fishing tournament?
So this year will be the 9th Northeast Fishing Derby.
Right. How many people did it bring the first year?
First year we had 76 entries.
76 entries. And are you hoping for at least 80 this year?
No, we're hoping for 1,000 this year.
1,000 people. Now, how, that's a real success story because to go up that number in 9 years, how have you done it?
Well, I kind of involved the area into it. We started talking to business people, and I had some like Northeast Ag and All Season Real Estate and Cladwell and All Season. They're some of my first sponsors, the Cal Palace. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it just took off, and now we have 20 big sponsors, all the little. I got big fishing companies, the Eagle Claw, and all these companies are involved now. And from there, it just took off, and when I did it, Scott, I wanted to donate to something to try to help the area. And we donated to the Iraq building, we donated to the hospitals. Now we're doing it to a cancer fund, which was my sister-in-law that passed away. We made a Mary Wright Halo Fund, which all the money from this tournament and all the tournaments that are done in there stays in this area to help people that have cancer that don't have the money to travel back, the gas money or whatever they need.
Mm. So that's a very good cause. So this isn't a money maker for you?
This is my store is put in this thing, and that's all I care about, is the store doing business. What happens with the banquet, the money, we do a 50-50 raffle. My part of the 50-50 raffle goes right for all donation. They get so much money out of every entry fee that comes in. So
what was the biggest fish caught during those 9 years?
20, and I want to make sure, I think it was Laker caught on, I can't think of the lake right off my mind. No, Willoughby. The biggest off Willoughby's been 21 pounds something, and they've all been in the 21 pounds has been the biggest. We did have one Laker off, I think it was Harvest Lake, was 23 pounds.
Now, where can fishermen fish?
There's 24 lakes and ponds in the whole Northeast Kingdom that they can fish.
With a fishing tournament, isn't there a certain amount of honor system when it comes to where you actually catch it?
Yes, really. I'm the judge. All the fish are weighed at my place. I have the final say on fish. The first year or two, we had some problems. I don't have no problem.
So if somebody brought a tuner in, that might kind of...
Yeah, or a walleye that was caught in the spring of the year that had been froze up. No frozen fish no more. I'll be honest with you, 99% of them they're just happy to have a tournament. And this thing has turned into quite a recreation for the whole Northeast.
I think that comes with the outdoors, whether it's hunting or fishing. You have a few who spoil it for everybody, yep. But for the most part, I think people are very honest.
I gotta agree. The sportsmen are a real sportsman. You never gotta worry. They're there to fish this tournament. There's people putting shacks out right now. I mean, you know some of them. They stay there, they're fishing, the motels are already, I talked to my nephew on the city motel, and them, the motels are already filling up for this tournament.
I know I was out this last weekend, what would be when this airs a couple weekends ago, and I was amazed. When I got out there weren't too many shacks out by the Twins, but you kept watching them starting to come out through. But you know, when I talk about the Twins, did you grew up fishing, right?
Yes, I did.
I don't know about you, but I think those Twin Islands have drifted out further, because if I walk out there now, I swear that walk is a lot longer than when I was a teenager.
Oh, I got to agree with you there.
So now I've got to admit is I have to ask myself, okay, is it worth walking out for? Is it worth the risk of going or falling through? I choose to risk falling through in a car because I drove out there and there was a lot of good ice.
Oh, it's good ice right now. We've got better ice this year than we had last year at this time.
Well, part of it's because the cold, but then when it got cold, there wasn't that much snow.
No
on
snow
top.
on the ice. You're right.
Do you think most people who go ice fishing now really take precautions? At least they don't go out on.
You know what? 95% of everybody is pretty careful. They call me, they ask me. I mean, my store is always asking, Ron, what is the ice safe? You know, like I said, don't be driving on Willoughby Lake. That lake is never safe until you've got 3-4 weeks of solid cold weather. You know, be cautious. Stay away from any streams or anything that's running there. And, you know, common sense.
I know when I was younger, I look back now, and if I ever caught my kids who are now in their 20s doing some of the things I did, like going out ice fishing when there was open water, and the open water would make the ice go like this. And you know, the thing is I don't even like eating fish. My wife likes them, but you know, the things I used to do in search of fish was just totally insane.
Yes, I gotta agree. I've been on the ice when you walk out and the water's bubbling up and down with 4 inches. Don't do that.
Would you do that today?
No, sir.
No. So you're working the fishing tournament. You're not getting out there.
I don't get out at all. We're open from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock some nights, 7 o'clock. We're there constantly. We're doing all the fish up because all the fish will be cooked for Sunday for the meal. Everything that's donated to us and stuff.
So again, when does it begin?
Starts February 14th this year to the 17th.
February 14th. So that's on a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Starts on a Thursday and runs through to a Sunday.
No. So when do you have to sign up by?
Everybody's got to be signed up by February 14th.
14th. Yeah, because I think what would happen is, you know,
Yep.
there would be some people who might not sign up until, so we got a big one here.
We give it always the Thursday, the day of the tournament, because a lot of the folks from out of state, we give them a chance to get in. But you know what? 99% of them call me ahead of time, tell me who they are and when they're coming in.
Now, how is the fishing here? Because, you know, I think we have a tendency to look at the negative in everything, but do you think the fishing's pretty good?
I think the fishing, and you know, and they're going to have people contradict me, but personally, I think the fishing is as good as it's ever been. You know, probably not as good as it was at one time, but they've got this salmon run coming back now. They're transporting them up. They had the biggest year they ever had transporting the salmon out of the Clyde River up. I honestly truly think, and then they went to the 50 perch limit. And I know last year I fished out there after the tournament. I did a lot of fishing and I had a ball and I caught a lot of fish.
And do you know, there's a lot of myth about how good the fishing used to be, because we all, especially the older we get, we like to remember things a little bit skewed. Like yeah, there were days where we got all kinds of fish, but there were probably a lot more that we didn't. It's like, for example,
right.
I wrote the history of the Clyde River fishery because the one reason I did it was I wanted to dispel some myths about the history of it. Like, you know, everybody tries to compare it to just a few decades when the salmon ran really thick. Well, the fact of the matter is during the early part of the 1900s, the state made a concerted effort to transfer. You know, we were poor here. They actually made this into a fishing paradise. So they brought up all kinds of fish, They put them in the Clyde. They put them all over, and that's how come we got a lot of good fishing now.
Sure.
But the thing is the myth of the Clyde River is far bigger than the truth of the Clyde River.
You're right.
It's like, for example, I know you have some connections. Your children do to the Clyde River.
We sure do.
The days of the walleye run. You know, the walleye run that I grew up on. Boy, that was a ball. But the thing is that run that I remember, it only lasted about 30 years.
No,
so.
you're right. You're right.
But
I was in on that run too.
Yeah.
You know.
In more ways than one.
Yeah. We won't go there.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think you're right. Is in the species are changing a little
Sure.
bit. It's like, I used to tell people when these pike were dumped in here, however the northern pike got put in, I says, it's too bad, but capitalize on it.
And you know what? There's people that live to fish them. So,
I know a friend of mine says that every year he's seeing more and more shacks go up on South Bay.
Sure.
And in my experience, I don't think, I don't like fishing South Bay for perch. No. So I have to suspect that they're out there trying to get those huge northern pike.
They are. I mean, I sell bait, so I know there are many people, Scott, fish the South Bay.
And on the topic of fishing is, gone are the days where I could set up a minnow stand and sell minnows, isn't it?
No, that day's gone.
Right. Are you the only person?
No, there's
there?
2 or 3 other people in the area selling it.
But there's a lot of stuff that goes with it now.
Oh yes, I mean records. You got to keep records on everything and everybody that goes on it. Yep.
Right. I know some of the changes have been hard to swallow, like having to know exactly what body of water you're going to, and then having to dump your bait out on the ice.
Well, see, now they just changed that. Starting February 1st, you'll be able to take your bait off the ice, and you got, I think it's 48 or 24, don't hold me at that, I'll have to look it in, but the laws changed. The 1st of February, you can take your bait off the ice, and then the next day, if you go back to the same lake, you can bring your bait right back and use it on the lake.
Right.
So.
Now, I know, wasn't it last year's fishing tournament actually created some memories for people when a snow squall came up?
Oh, yes.
And, to those
we
who
had
don't,
one boy land up in Canada.
and the people who don't go out on the lake, first of all, they're missing the most beautiful scenes. Actually, I'm going to have Todd put up some of the photos I took recently of Lake Memphremagog.
It's a big, to get back to the tournament, Scott, it's a big family day Saturday for the kids. Right. That's all free. This year the National Guard's coming in, having games for them, so, and I mean,
and
that's going to be held at my place. And we've changed it over because we moved the meal from Saturday night to Sunday afternoon just so the children could have more time. Every child that comes to the tournament, it comes back with a fish or anything, every child goes home with something. We have prizes for every child.
Because, you must have some hardcore people, but aren't a lot of your people just out to have fun?
Sure. I mean, the children and the families, it gets the families together. I mean, I got my brothers, sisters, and all of them they're all going to be on the ice for 3-4 days. They just live for it.
Right. I know, then you got, like the LeBlancs and the Fortons, and, they live out there, they cook out there, the kids grow up out there, and, as I said, if you haven't done it, it's kind of like a deer camp.
I mean, people ought to get out and just see the shacks, the ice fishing shacks, like my brother Roy and my brother-in-law Bobby and them. Last weekend I drove out after I got out of work Sunday, and they're all out there. It's almost like living in a home.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the people are skidooing out there. I mean, it's, they're taking advantage of what we've got in this area.
Well, and, a lot of people, no matter what time of year, people like to complain there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. Nope. Sure there is. No, we don't have Disney World. Nope. But on the other hand we have all this. And, somebody was complaining about the cost of a hunting and fishing license, because I told them they said, that's outrageous. And I said, no, it isn't. I said, this is for the entire year. And I said, you can't even get into Disney World for one day.
That's right. You're
And
right, Scott.
I said, yeah. Now my boys, they were fortunate. My parents got them a lifetime license, and so that unfortunately they moved to Maine, but they still come home and fish.
Sure.
So, do you see the same people over and over?
Oh yes. I mean the tournament. I get a lot of the same. I'm very thankful for my clientele that I have, but I've got a lot of new people. I was at the SHOT Show in Vegas. The people that make the hot seats and everything are out of New Hampshire. There's 12 of them guys just called me that heard about the tournament. I do business. They're all coming. They're booking in. I mean, we bring some serious business to this area that week.
I know I've been blitzing it out because I think I'm the most active Facebook site in the Northeast Kingdom. So I know there's been a couple people who hadn't heard about it, and they're coming. And I think you have to hit them on multiple levels, and I think you've done that.
You're right. And I guess we'll go back. We'll start at the entry fee, $25. That gets you into a fishing tournament that's going to give away $40,000 to $50,000 this year.
Right.
When you sign up for that tournament, you automatically go into a drawing for the four-wheeler, plus all the door prizes. Then to win the snow machine, you've got to catch fish. Every fish you catch, you get a ticket for the snow machine. Plus, you get into the categories. There's 6 categories.
What are they?
You got the salmon, rainbow, brown, northern, Lakers, and walleyes. And everybody can catch one perch in the tournament for a ticket for the skidoo. Everybody's got to bring in one perch. That gives you automatically ticket, because not everybody trout fishes,
Right.
and they got to come in. And then that gets you every class. I give away $300, $150, and $50 for first, second, and third in all classes at the end of the tournament. Thursday and Friday, I give away $100 for the biggest fish caught in each category, plus a $25 gift certificate to the store for second place.
Now, what would happen if somebody brought in the mythical Memphrey? Do they get extra points?
Well, that's probably they'd put that in the lunker pool. That'd be the big money.
Yeah, but you'd probably have to bring it in alive, because I think it's an endangered species now, according to the state. So.
Right. I've always wanted to see it, but
Yeah. Well, you know what I tell people? If you set on the water side, you have enough to drink. Sooner or later, you are probably going to start seeing anything.
things.
So you people come from all walks of life.
All walks of life.
Right. I know one guy we were talking about. You think he's been in every tournament? Was one guy when I think of true fishing, because there's people like me that enjoy it, but I'm not big into it. I think of Ron Chafee.
Ron Chafee, yes, he's been. I think as long as Ron Chafee has not missed a year, the tournament's been running.
Yeah, when I think, it's just like Dan Collins. He might not be in your tournament, but I think of them because they live and breathe this.
Yep.
They live and breathe the fishing, and as Dan is fond of saying, a lot of times during like spring fishing, he'll look at some of the people. He says some of them wearing sunglasses more expensive than his truck.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And but like Ron and Dan, they take it like Ron fell through. I don't know if you recall a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
The ice melted out from underneath them,
Yep.
and I said it must have been a while before he went back out. He says, "Yeah." He said, "I waited until the next day."
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's just like my Bobby Moran and Colby, them guys, and them guys. I mean, they just live. They all live for this thing. The Morans, the Gas and the Moran boys, and I mean, there's so many I could name that they grew up as little kids fishing, just live for going out.
As I say, I love to go fishing. I'm not into eating them, so when I was choosing wives, I made sure.
It's funny because you say that, because at the tournament, all the fish that are donated are filleted, plus I buy a lot besides.
Right.
But they're all donated, and we cook them. And I've had more people at that tournament. What do you do for them fish, Ron, to make them taste like that? People have told me they didn't like them, and they just. I look at Bev Shimolesi every year. They just come, Bob and her, and they said we come just for them fish, Ron.
So is what you cook them?
We cook them all, right?
Yeah,
there.
but I think part of that comes probably from your mother had to cook for a horde of people just with all you kids. So cooking for 1,000 people is probably similar to cooking for all you guys.
No, there's a lot of truth to that. You know.
Does your mother get involved in any way?
My mother makes all the baked beans. I have two ladies that make all the baked beans. Jimmy Shonya's daughter and my mother. They each make 10 pounds of homemade baked beans. They'll be all served. Everything is done and cooked there and all made there.
Now, do all your kids take part?
I have, oh yeah, all my brothers, my daughters are there. All the Orleans Rod and Gun Club, most all them guys show up. Plus a lot of the sponsors. I mean, Agway, Bobby from Agway, Jimmy Shonya from Northeast Kingdom. They're all there to help. Doug Nelson furnishes the elk meat for the meatloaves. And
you know, it sounds to me like your event hasn't had the same trouble as some others, because there's people who start these great events and they grow, but then the people who are running it look around and they're doing it all by themselves because people get bored with it, or they just don't want to work at it anymore.
No, matter of fact, I've got more coming on the team this year than we ever have. I mean, the Halo Fund, that whole outfit, which is my nephews and other people, Chris Grenier and all, they're all coming in this year, you know.
No, the Halo Fund?
That's the Halo, that's for the cancer victims
okay.
in this area, for the money that comes in. The problem, Scott, I've come with, the meal has got so big, I had to shut it off at 450.
450 people?
450. Last year, we usually end up feeding over 500. But I have to shut it off because that's all I can handle. The building won't handle no more than that. I mean, this year we're setting the big tent up outside with heaters, so the people that don't want the meal still can be out and heat tent and have their cocktails, whatever, out there. And then at 3 o'clock, we open the doors to give away all the stuff.
Now, most people know where your business is. It's Wright Sports Shop and Enterprises. It's located?
Oh, located, well, it's 48 community, but it's located right across from Lindenville Bank, Bonds Auto, Vance Auto, right in the back.
Right. Now, if somebody, they're not really into ice fishing, but they're just starting out, do you guys share information with people on how to begin?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I'm very, very good about that. I might not tell them every secret I got, but I help them out so they're going to have a good time.
So what's your biggest secret you're willing to share?
My biggest secret, some of the things, probably I got more secrets in deer hunting than I do fishing.
My father-in-law is an old Vermonter, and it's amazing some of the things some of the basic things that I think sometimes technology has forgotten about. I think some of the technology is great, but he has things that can, do far more than any technology can.
You know what I tell everybody? Experience is the best thing in the world. Get out there. I have my way of jigging. Other people have their ways, but experience, is the way to, probably the best lesson I can tell anybody to do.
One of the best things I see when it came to ice fishing, I don't want to blame it all on the Canadians, but when we didn't have any limits, to have somebody come up to you about 3 feet away and drill a hole because they see you catching, like, that's a little that's tough. And usually it was usually the Canadian meat fishermen, and probably a guy your size, you probably would have had a little chat with him. But
well, Scott, when I'm perch fishing, the guys, a lot of them are fishing for money out there. Yeah. I'm not. I'm out there to enjoy it. Right. And when I'm catching fish real good, if I'll be fishing around, I'll say, you guys, dig a hole right next to me. Yeah,
but you don't want a stranger to go up to you. And,
no. And it does happen, and you know what? Yeah. I'm a good enough sport. I just laugh and talk to them, you know.
But I don't think you see so much people fishing for meat anymore.
No.
But you know what it always used to be, because when I was growing up, like you had the Carters, who I grew up with, is, they were painters during the summer. And then come winter, they would subsidize their food and subsidize their income by selling perch.
Nope, you're right.
But I know I've seen some perch, and they haven't gone into my bucket, but there's some big perch
Oh,
out there.
big perch, yeah. We usually have a 14 to 15-inch perch every year that wins the ice.
So what does a 14 or 15-inch perch go in weight?
He'll be about 1.75 pounds.
Do you have any fishermen who exaggerate a little bit? You know, that comes with the trade, doesn't it? You know, that fish that you catch out on the ice,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, you know, my biggest saying is the big one always get away.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's a little truth to that, because a real big fish is sometimes hard to land.
Yeah. I know I was telling you, a friend of mine, he decided to penny pinch, and he didn't want to spend $10 on to sign up in a tournament a few years ago, and he certainly would have walked away with it, but it took him forever. But he got a 13-inch laker out of the hole, and it took him forever.
13 pounds, you mean?
13, yeah, 13 pounds.
Yeah.
And he would have won hands down,
Yep.
but you know, he saved $10.
That's right. There's a lot of them like that. I mean, I have seen to come to the dinner, you got to sign up for the tournament. So somebody said this year to me, well, you know, $25 a couple, that's quite a lot of money for a dinner. I said, well.
Have they eaten out lately?
That's just what I asked them. I said, you know, that's $25 to all you can eat, and everything's homemade, the rolls, everything. You know? But you got to sign up in the tournament to come to the dinner.
No, so do you? All right. Can somebody sign up for the tournament but not have a license because they have no intent?
I'll tell you, Scott, I probably have 150 to 200 people sign up for the tournament that don't even fish.
Right.
They do it to help out. They do it because they want to be in on the drawings. Plus, they want to come to the dinner. You don't have to fish to be in this tournament. Tournaments, you know what? You still can win a four-wheeler or win their power auger. We're giving away ice shacks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff given away. Walt Sales and Service has donated 2 or 3 chainsaws. I mean, there's a little bit of everything.
Now, tell me again, or tell the viewers again, when is the tournament?
Tournament starts February 14th at midnight. When it turns 12 o'clock, 12 p.m. that night, the tournament starts. And it runs till 11 o'clock on February 17th.
Right.
You got to be inside the gate at 11 o'clock if you're going to have your fish weighed. We ask everybody to come in every day to weigh their fish. That way it keeps it.
Now, can they make it so they can, because there are some people who don't like to kill their fish. Do you have a way to weigh them without?
Now, see, with the winter tournament, you cannot transfer fish off the ice.
Oh, you can't, okay.
So you can't transfer them live.
Oh, okay.
So it has to be, that's why we lowered the limit this year on the northern pike. We limited it, the fishing game asked me, we limited it to 2 fish a day. I mean, your limit's 5, you can still catch 5, but I'm only weighing 2 of them.
Okay. Well, I think it's going to be a huge success again. But I think you and your group should be commended because it's more than about fishing. It's about bringing money to the area. It's about community spirit, and you know, I personally get tired of hearing people say there's nothing to do. Personally, I find that there's a lot to do here. It's actually, sometimes I think there's too much because I don't know what to choose from. No, there's not a Disney World. We were getting close to it at J Peak, though.
Yep.
But on the other hand is, you know, maybe someday they'll be, you know, maybe they'll build a lake up there and you can hold a fishing tournament
right.
up there.
And see, Scott, one thing I wanted to do is, they run a lot of tournaments on Sheraton Lakes.
Right.
I did not want this tournament on one lake.
Right.
It's too much pressure for one lake. You spread it out. It gives every lake a chance. You know, some of these lakes get pressured pretty hard on, if you know.
I think that's a good point because one year there was a professional bass tournament quite a few years ago, and I was actually, you know what stunned me? I was a newspaper person at the time, and when I think of a big bass, I think of like 4 pounds, a big bass.
Yep.
Some of these professionals, they were catching, you know, people don't have a clue how big some of the fish are in that body of water. And I was just like totally stunned. But then they would be telling me that if you catch one out by the twins, and you release it in South Bay, it gets out to the twins. And I often wondered whether that's true or not.
It's possible, yep. I mean, it's no different than the trout that run up the lakes and they go way back up into Canada.
That's probably true.
But there's a lot of great bass lakes around here.
Oh, sure there is. The bass fisherman told me that this is one of the best kept secrets here.
Yep.
And that's how come sometimes I think that we focus.
They've asked me to do bass tournament, and I'll be honest, I just don't have the time in the summer with the auction business and everything. You know, there's a lot of work put in these tournaments.
In the closing remarks, you mentioned auctions. Do you ever get tongue-tied when you're up there just doing bang, bang, bang?
Not really. I love my businesses, Scott, and I mean, you know, I get the hardest part with auctioneering is you always got to remember you'll stop sometimes and talk. Then you got to remember where you were and who you were on.
Right. Some of my earliest memories is going to the commission sales in Orleans, and then you'd have Gassy Soulier there and some others, and I've often been amazed by how you guys can just go like that.
Yep.
So
A lot of practice and learning.
all right, well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Scott.
And thank you for all you're doing for the area, because I think, actually, you were just recognized, was it last year?
Yep.
For all the work you've
Businessman of the Year. Yep.
Right. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.